You can get off.
Okay. Here we go.
Stand back a little bit. Like stand towards me. Yeah, you can get off.
All right, Shalom. First off, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to
Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, B'Kakadash.
We give double honors to our apostles and elders, the great millstone, Latasha's truth and goodwill. And salutations to your hopeful echoes of this truth in all honesty and sincerity. We the brothers out of GMS Kansas City coming another week in, week out to prophesy the downfall of America and to wake up the 12 tribes of Israel, which is your so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans. You're the true children of the Bible. Okay? A lot of stuff going on right now in the news and the media. Recently, it was a breaking news that there's reports or rumors that Russia actually hit Poland with a couple missiles, and they're also saying it possibly could be Ukraine. They haven't really narrowed it down to the best of my knowledge yet, but that level of action right there shows you how close we are to completely setting things off to an all-out full-fledged war. And meanwhile, America's not ready for that type of smoke, man. Because you got the U.S. military, their troops uploading videos of men twerking and shit and dancing like sissy boys, man, on social media.
Exalt your voice and get up to it.
You know. So meanwhile, when you look at what's going on with Russia, they advertise and they might, man. They shoot missiles and shit. They got they special troops fucking swimming in icy rivers and stuff. America ain't ready, man. You know, and that goes into the scriptures in Jeremiah, you know, when it talks about the mighty men are basically forborn to fight, which we can get that. We go right into it here. This is the book of Nahum 3:13. It says, "Behold, thy people in the midst of thee are women. The gates of thy land shall be set wide open unto thine enemies. The fire shall devour thy bars." So, hey. Thy people are women. Not only is the population right now in the U.S. or a worldwide period, women outnumber men a lot. But the few men that are left are becoming bocce boys, man.
Yep.
You know, how could you have a military, which the percentage right now is astronomical within the U.S. military, of how many men that desire to be with men and women that desire to be with women, and the amount of women in the U.S. military, period. And only 1% of the U.S. population is even serving. How can you expect them to fight?
That's right. The morale is decreasing. Because another aspect of that is because of how much truth is going out. Like this whole, what is it, the C-19 narrative? A lot of the people have figured out that was bullshit. So that caused distrust from the government to the people. So a lot of people are on their own type of grind, just trying to get it out here for themselves. There's no spirit of unity in America. Like, oh, I'll go to a country halfway across the world and die for the people over here. Like, nobody really gives a fuck about each other over here.
Right.
That's why it's gonna be made. They're gonna have to do a draft when it finally, when shit finally breaks out, when the war intensifies in Europe and specifically and especially the Middle East. Hey. They're going to have to draft you motherfuckers out there. So it's going to be so-called white men going out there. That's from America. All portions of the United States citizens are going to be eligible for that draft, man. Whatever ethnicity you may be, a so-called white boy, even Jake, you people that trust in this society, you're going to go out there to fight because that's what, from the events like the brother speaking on, is what's going on in Europe, this is what it's going to lead to. It's going to lead to all-out war. It's the bands and the militaries of the nations going to battle because that's their judgment. And if you get sent out to the Middle East, that's your judgment.
Right.
Hey, the Most High really, he's not dealing with you. He don't fuck with you. You know what I'm saying?
That's right.
Brothers, we believe that brothers and even the sisters that believe, or the sisters that's reserved to be our women, they ain't gonna end up in fucking Baghdad somewhere during this war. This is for the indignation the Lord has upon all the heathen. It goes into that in what is it, Joel, the 3rd chapter? It's a part of the Lord's anger upon the armies of the heathen. So if you go over there, it's because you are viewed with indignation to the Most High. Okay, so I got Ezekiel 38, brother. You can break it down as a reading.
God.
This is Ezekiel 38. And 1, it says, "And the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, Son of man, set thy face against God, the land of Magog, the chief prince of Meshech and Tubal."
Even though Russia is looking at the one that would actually defeat the United States, that doesn't mean that the Lord is with them. It says, "Set thy face against Gog and Magog." All right, that's your modern day Russia. Okay, the Lord isn't with them either.
It says, the chief prince of Meshech and Tubal, and prophesy against him, and say, Thus saith the Lord God, Behold, I am against thee, O God, the chief prince of Meshech and Tubal. And that shows the Lord is against the Russians. See, because all these armies of the heathen are part of Yahweh Bashem Yahshai's wrath. All right? Because all nations have had part in spoiling the nation of Israel. Like, for example, the Russians, right? You would think of them as Russian-speaking so-called white people. But in the Middle Ages, the princes of Kiev and Novgorod, all them principalities that ruled in the Middle Ages were actually so-called black men. It was actually during, like, pre-Renaissance, like right before the Renaissance and during the Renaissance, them Khazarians started coming and warring with the nobility of that land and started taking over, okay? All the way to the point where the Russian Tsars got taken out. It was like an ethnic cleansing that took place over time. And the Tsars of Russia, which were black men, had tons of wealth, tons of gold, slaves. That's where you get the term Slav, because the commoners in their kingdom, Edomites, were slaves. So that's why the Lord is flipping the script now to judge them too, because they had a part in spoiling us, man. You know what I'm saying?
That's right, because that's a good point you made, because when you look at something called the Russian icons, that's one of the only art pieces that you can see tangible today that they still got on display of all the images of prophets and, you know, and saints being so-called dark-skinned black people.
That's right.
You know, so you got to ask yourself, okay, well, what if this is part of your Russian history of all these so-called black people and or nobility and all these paintings of these icons? What happened to those people? How the fuck did you get here? You're not even so-called black people. So that should tell you, okay, something fishy went on. These Edomites took over that land, man. The Lord ain't with them either.
That's right. They being raised up as the chief enemy against the United States. You know, just like in the scriptures when you had the kings of Sodom. Remember when Abraham had to intervene and rescue Lot because one of the kings actually kidnapped Lot. So during that time period, there was a war between the heathens, the kings, which had nothing to do with Abraham and the chosen seed. But that was just a part of the Lord's anger. They was in that, you can imagine, they was in that battle just slaying each other. It's the same thing now. The Lord is a power of controversy. That's why his name is the Lord of hosts, the Lord of armies. He controls what's happening on the earth, you know, and he loves to see what's going on because it happens by his counsel, you know. It says, and I will turn thee back and put hooks into thy jaws and will bring thee forth. And when it talks about bringing thee back, is putting Russia back in the spirit that they were during the Soviet Union, which they were hard set against America during those times. That's why you had the wall of partition through Berlin, because you had the Iron Curtain, which would on the eastern side of Europe you had the red countries, including Russia and the USSR, and then on the western portion you had all of the so-called democratic nations, which included the United States, and they were dead set against each other during those times. But then you had one of the weak, one of the presidents of the USSR called? What's a name for him?
I don't know if it's Tsar or...
Not Tsar, but they were like, damn, what's the name? But I believe there was the dude's name was Gorbachev. He ended up dissolving the USSR, and they broke off into several different countries, right? So during that time period, those countries were weakened, and America didn't really have smoke with Russia like that. But we see over time, in really a quick amount of time, just since Vladimir Putin got in power, 2011, moves started to be made during that time to bring America back into controversy with the same nation. So that's this prophecy being played out, which is I would turn thee back and put hooks in thy jaws and bring thee forth. Now the Most High is bringing them forth to battle. Now the same fight that you would have thought would have happened in the 70s and 80s between the USSR and the Allies, the United States, is happening now. You see what I'm saying? And that's like a crazy thing. Like no one, like if you would have went back to like 1999, it would have been like, you know, do you think at some point Russia will gain power and then come back against the United States? People would say no.
Right.
Or they'll just say 2005 or something like that. Yeah, that wasn't on people's minds. But now it is.
Yeah,
you see?
That shit got squashed because we look at happened in history. It was a big beef during the time of the Cold War.
Yep,
and then
Cold War.
And then the Cold War went super cold. Everything kind of just calmed down. Russia chilled back. Nobody was fucking with one another. But out of nowhere, all of a sudden, they have this drive to need to take over shit and fight. That's what goes into what the brothers getting ready to read in the scriptures about putting hooks in their jaws. The Lord is forcing their asses to come back out. Nah, nope. I'm about to use Satan to fight against Satan and bringing y'all back out.
You can imagine what type of beefs and lingering hatred that a lot of them older Russians got for America, because like Vladimir Putin, he was a KGB agent. So he was actually one of the top military guys when it was still the USSR. So he probably dealt with all kind of bullshit from the United States. Probably had some of his friends get killed, murdered and shit from the CIA agents. So he got a chip on his shoulder against America. He like, man, fuck that place. And they know the inner workings and the dirty dealings. So that old controversy gets stirred back. You know what I'm saying?
And then that American fucking Babylon wine is spreading across all of Europe. They don't like that shit, man. They don't like the sissy boys over in that country. At one point in time, you know, they call them Momo on the streets, the Russians would put the motherfucker to death.
Yep. They don't tolerate that shit.
So that shit is spreading, man. They're not with it.
Yeah, and that's another, I'm glad you brought that up, because that's another aspect between that divide between America and Russia, because they have different philosophies. They have different ways of life. Like for example, the LGBT bullshit, they don't accept that over there. And that's a major reason why they don't fuck with America, among other things, you know?
Yeah.
So I'm gonna keep reading this, brother. It says, and I will bring thee forth in all thine army, horses and horsemen, all of them clothed with all sorts of armor, even a great company with bucklers and shields, all of them handling swords.
Hey, look at that invasion that's going on in Ukraine. You've seen that? All them tanks just parading all through the fucking streets, man. You know, all that armor and everything. They've been showcasing their might. They've been advertising, and also they reinstated the draft over there. So it's a wrap, man. The Lord has definitely pulled them back to fight. Put that spirit back on.
They called for like 300,000 conscripts.
Right.
So you had Russian men that was weak, didn't want to fight. They was breaking their own legs, man, to try to avoid that.
Yep.
Try to avoid that draft. Hey, so if Russian men are doing that shit, you can only imagine what you fucking American F words are gonna do.
Right.
When you get drafted, you gonna have dudes jumping off buildings, straight up killing themselves to not go to the Middle East. Because you can only imagine, like, before the draft, and let's just say depict like that time period before the draft actually happens. It's gonna be televised how bad that war is. Like, people's family members, before the draft even happens, gonna hear stories of them getting blown to pieces, man. A lot of the people that's in the army right now, or in the Marines right now, they're gonna go over there first and end up dead. So then it's gonna be to the point, okay, we need more troops. We need more. All the motherfuckers die. We need more. Then people gonna be like, oh shit, scared as hell, man, not knowing what to do, shitting themselves, you know. And that's so beautiful, man, because look how proud you people are. Look how much disregard you got for Yahweh and Shem Yahweh Shai and his laws, man. Right. You don't care about the Most High in none of your ways. So that's why the Most High gonna jack you up in this form, you know. It says Persia, Ethiopia, and Libya with them, all of them with shield and helmet, and that represents the allies of Russia that's going to assemble at that time period. because it says Persia, which represents Iran. And I got an article pulled up about Iran actually, which kind of proves that prophecy. If I'm gonna get it real quick.
Yeah, and they're gonna be forced, man, because the U.S. has had strategically put all their bases over these years of this quote-unquote war in Afghanistan, strategically put their military bases to completely surround the country of Iran right now. You know, and you can look at that map. Look at all the bases that have been established. So, hey, once they attack them, hey, those two are allies. They're gonna have each other's back.
This is from the Washington Post, right? It says Iran will help Russia build drones for Ukraine war. Western officials say, and that's just like the prophecies when the Persian bands with them. So Persia is assisting Russia right now in their conflict with Ukraine. So how much more as the battles and so forth, the skirmishes heat up more. Iran and all these countries that are siding with Russia, they gonna get more turned up. And it says also in that prophecy Ethiopia and Libya, so that will represent like areas like Somalia, Ethiopia, as well as Northern Africa, because Libya is in Northern Africa. So this is going to be a world war. So you can say like, okay, the Libyan countries, they may assist Russia with supplies and weaponry as well, are getting to certain battles in Africa with countries that are allied with the United States. Because during World War I and World War II, you had you had the major nations on one side or on both sides. You had the Axis and Allies, right? So when you think of the Allies, you think Britain, Great Britain, France, the United States, and pretty much that's it. Those were like the major ones. But then on the Axis side, you had Russia with the Allies as well. On the Axis, you had Italy, Germany, and a couple other countries. But during those time periods, you had even smaller nations that was getting involved in that conflict and fighting. So like Ethiopia and Libya right now, they're not really significant like that, but they're gonna be fighting too. Because this is gonna take place on the world stage. You know what I'm saying? This is wartime. Global war. All right? And it's gonna get so intense to the point of missiles getting shot off. Because I mean, what's connected to Libya and Ethiopia? Waterways, significant. Because on Ethiopia, you got the Horn of Africa, which is connected with Iran, right? So that waterway is going to get hot to the point where they're going to have to get involved and fight. Then you have Libya, which is south of the Mediterranean Sea. So as them European countries start fighting, those areas are going to get hot. You're going to have U.S. cruise ships sailing through the Mediterranean. Let's just say the United States brings some of their cruise ships and what is it called? Like the major ships the Navy uses, like aircraft carriers. Yeah. They want to bring them through the Mediterranean. Well, Libya is going to try to bomb their ass, man. You know what I'm saying? It ain't going to be smooth sailing. It's going to be straight fucking hell. Hell on earth. All right? Hell on earth, that's what's coming to you people, okay? It says all of them with shield and helmet. Gomer with all his bands, the house of Togarmah of the north quarters, and all his bands and many people with thee. And Gomer and Togarmah represent Turkey, because that's where modern day Turkey, and that is pretty much playing into prophecy as well, because we see the adversity now that Turkey has with NATO, because Turkey actually is a part of the NATO military alliance. But in recent years, let's just go back to around 2015, they were at odds with the United States behind their involvement in Syria, because the Turkey had heavy dealing in Syrian oil. So America getting involved in that fucked up their money and fucked up their economy, to the point where now, several years later, it just has gotten worse and there's been no reconciliation. So now that pushed Turkey now to basically deal with Russia. You see? So it's going to be to the point where now they're going to turn on NATO fully, okay? According to prophecy. And this is funny too because the prophecy that we're reading out was written thousands of years ago, but the events in recent times is playing out to fit this exact story, man. That shows you the power of the Most High. Because you would think like, okay, Turkey, they're never gonna leave NATO. NATO's such a powerful alliance. If Turkey leaves, they'll be against America, Britain, all those powerful countries. But you know what? It's the spirit controlling this thing. It's the spirit of the Most High. So you can't go with what you think is logical or this and that. No, the spirit is dictating this. You see? So it says, be thou prepared and prepare for thyself, thou and all thy company that are assembled unto thee, and be thou a guard unto them. You could break that down, bro.
Hey, so they're all getting and gathering together for war. You're seeing step by step all these different countries we're breaking down that's all gathering together to fight. You know, you got Turkey, Syria, Iran, Russia. Okay, you got Ukraine, Poland. All these bands the scriptures are referenced to represents all these military mights and armies gathering together. Now this hasn't happened, you know, in the time that the scriptures was written, that this was written. That wasn't going on. It wasn't all of these countries coming together to fight Babylon. It's happening right now. We're seeing it. So like the brother said, you know, this is prophecy, and that's the power of prophecy. That's how we know that this book is true.
That's right.
Things that are spoken before and then begin to happen right before your very eyes, man. And we got more prophecies that's getting ready to come.
Yep.
This is just one piece of it.
That's right. It says, after many days thou shalt be visited. In the latter years thou shalt come into the land that is brought back from the sword, and is gathered out of many people against the mountains of Israel, which have been always waste. But it is brought forth out of the nations, and they shall dwell safely, all of them. Thou shalt ascend and come like a storm. Thou shalt be like a cloud to cover the land, thou and all thy bands and many people with thee. And that shows you how major it's going, like how like numerous those armies are going to be. It said like a cloud. It's a covering that land.
That is definitely a world war.
Yep.
That's a third woe right there. That's right. Everybody's involvement for that magnitude the scriptures is given. All these countries about to be involved, man. And I had another precept. Unless you got more on that.
You can read Joel. I can go back to this after that.
This is the book of Revelation 16, verse 14. For they are the spirit of devils working miracles, which go forth unto the kings of the earth and of the whole world, and gather them to the battle of
and that represents America, because I believe if you go up, those three spirits would be Washington D.C., those three unclean frogs, Washington D.C., Rome, and London represent the major power holds, if you will, or the cities of power from the elites. So these three different how can I term these three devilish cities, if you will, throughout the years have played an influence into the situation that we got now. Like, for example, America has played a major part in spoiling the nations for the past several years, right? To the point where they're at now is that all these nations are at odds with America, and also they have deceived the people of the earth into believing false doctrines, into accepting goddamn Pizza Hut all of their country, man. Now the cancer rate in, say, India is shooting up because them fucking Elamites out there is just eating Pizza Hut every day now, man. Damn. When they supposed to have the Ayurvedas and, you know, dealing with the herbs and stuff. That's what they was dealing with before America got in there. But now you allow these American corporations to influence your nation. Now your people are jacked up. The women become feminists, and they have less respect for men, which in turn makes them loose, makes them adulterous. You see? All because they want to follow after America.
Drink that wine.
So all this deception that's been happening, read that precept you read again.
God.
That's significant, actually, bro. Can you start up like 2 verses from where you read?
God.
That's a beautiful precept.
It's the book of Revelation 16 and 12. And the sixth angel poured out his vial upon the great river Euphrates.
Ooh, that represents Euphrates getting dried up. See, the sixth angel is what sounds right before the war to end all wars in the Middle East. That's what's coming. We're right in between. Pretty much we're in between the 6th and the 7th trump. Because the 7th trump is going to sound after the missiles. The missiles drop and the deliverance. So we're right in that period. Go ahead, bro.
And it says, upon the great river Euphrates, and the water thereof was dried up. And that actually happened right now. If you go on and look on Google and research it, Euphrates River is pretty much dried up right now. And it says, and the water thereof was dried up, that the way of the kings of the east might be prepared. So it's, hey, it's spiritual that the Lord has dried that up. Say, hey, look, you can come on right through this natural border that I just ripped out the way.
Yeah.
You know? And right now, the kings of the east, you know, you got all them countries and European countries and shit like that. Everything's gonna shift to the place of Armageddon, man. Where everyone's gonna be fighting.
I believe the Euphrates, it runs through the Fertile Crescent. It divides Iraq. So to the east of the Euphrates, you got Iran, which is going to be a major player in that war. You have Russia, which actually could send their army south and go through Iran to come. Because I mean, when countries have alliances like that, they pretty much they use what's called land access.
Yep.
So if you have an alliance, the country you got an alliance with will allow your army to march through through their land, so you can put your troops in an advantageous position, right?
Yep.
Because we already know America and its forces are going to go through the Mediterranean pretty much and defend Israel.
Right.
So then all the other enemies going to come from the other side and meet with battle.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So you're going to have Russia, you're going to have China come through there. Okay, possibly even Pakistan and India. Mm-hmm. Okay, they're gonna all march through there to fight. So go ahead, brother.
And it says that the way of the kings of the east might be prepared. And I saw 3 unclean spirits like frogs come out of the mouth of the dragon, and out of the mouth of the beast, and out of the mouth of the false prophet. For they are the spirit of devils working miracles, which go forth unto the kings of the earth and of the whole earth, and gather them to the battle of that great day of Yahweh Almighty.
Right, they work miracles through their medical system, through their military, and through their media. Those are like the major avenues of witchcraft and power that Esau uses to influence the earth. Like Hollywood. Hollywood was a significant operation. Hollywood really didn't start for the purpose of entertainment. Hollywood started to influence the world, influence the minds of average Americans, and then expand abroad. You see, that's why it gave itself the name Hollywood, because Hollywood is a type of wood used in witchcraft. I believe the Druids of Britain would use hollowed wood to cast spells. So that was the whole purpose of Hollywood. Who runs Hollywood? Oh, you can't say that. You can't.
Amalek.
Amalek, man. Which we won't say who Amalek is, but Amalek, you know who you are.
Right.
They run Hollywood. They the biggest witches. That's why you got them fucking small hats. They walk around in all black for their god Saturn and Baphomet, Satan. It's all the same thing. So, you know, these spirits of devils, they've been in the earth, and now it's to the point where we're at now with it, that these nations are so deceived and they're so riled up right now to the point to war with America. Because you know what? World War III is actually a part of the elite's agenda. It's not as if that this has happened by happenstance and they don't want this war to happen. They actually do want this war to happen in their minds. Even though Yahweh Hashem Yahushai, he said it's going to spell their defeat. Think back to the writings of Albert Pike. Remember how he was a one of the highest levels of Freemasons, which is witchcraft, who lived during the 1800s and died. I believe he died during the 1800s. So he lived before it was World War I and World War II. But in his writings, he said how they would craft these basically fabricated world wars, World War I, II, and III. You see? To be able to, at the end, bring what? The New World Order, which is world domination for the elites. That's the whole purpose of it, because what the elites plan to do, what they think, because right now they're in the bunkers right now, a lot of them plan to be, and hide out while these nations pretty much crush each other. And then the victors of the war, and then you know, of course, that monetary system being put in place, they want to come out and rule the earth from that point, because they believe that the earth is unmanageable with the amount of people that's on it. So that's why war and famine and great death, they want that to play out to bring it to manageable numbers. That's a part of their plan, okay? That's how, you know, that's the deeper level of that scripture when you understand certain facts about what the elites have planned, okay? Go ahead, bro.
And it says, for they are the spirit of devils working miracles, which go forth unto the kings of the earth and of the whole world, to gather them to the battle of that great day of Yahweh Almighty. So that battle, that great day, that ultimate world war, man. The final fight. And it says, behold, I come as a thief. Blessed is he that watcheth and keepeth his garments, lest he walk naked and they see his shame. In verse 16 it says, and he gathered them together into a place called in the Hebrew tongue Armageddon.
Right, which Armageddon means mountain of troops, you see? In the Hebrew. In the Hebrew, it means mountain of troops. Why is it mountain of troops? Because just in the book of Ezekiel, we was reading how they're going to come together as a cloud to fight in that area, man. You see? And this is why this is beautiful, because, you know, let's go back several years. Let's go back to like 2016. I remember that time brothers was bringing out Ezekiel 38 hot. Like, we was bringing that out like every other camp.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because Russia was doing a lot of shit back then, so we see like a lot of things kind of died down a little bit, and now it's like it's smacked right back into the scene like never before. So we're close. Because I mean, during that time period, you know, because that was when ISIS was being pushed heavy and they was fighting in Syria heavy. You had the battle of what's that Syrian city? It might be Antioch. It could have a different name, Salakia. I can't think of it. I should know that name. I got to look it up. But you had that Syrian city, Damascus. Damascus was totally decimated because they were fighting to get them damn CIA-controlled what's it called, like that proxy army called ISIS out of their country, and Russia helped defeat them during that time period. So then, you know, behind the scenes, 17